What's up, Star Wars nerds, and welcome to another episode of Brett on Fett. On today's episode, it's time to play catch up on some pickups. Let's get to it. Welcome back to the channel. This is episode 76 of Brett on Fett. Now, I was not able to put out a video last week, and even before then, I had some pickups I just was not able to share on my channel, so I thought I'd knock them all out on this episode. Now, I've got a nice variety of vintage Kenner, old modern, new modern, 3.75 and 6-inch scale stuff, so let's take a look. Alright, first off, let's take a look at some loose figures I've picked up recently. This is R7Z0. He is a Legacy Collection Build-A-Droid, so you have to collect several figures to get all the different parts to put him together. And I've always liked this one. I've had parts of him in some of the figures I have, but I just didn't want to open those. And so I was happy to pick this guy up already complete. I think my favorite part about the droid is his dome. It's just a very unique design. Next up is another cool astromech droid. This is R2 SHP from the Droid Factory Rise of Skywalker 4-pack. Now, I've had my eye on this pack for some time. It's always very expensive, somewhere around the $75 to $100 range. And I had an opportunity to pick this guy up loose for pretty cheap, so I jumped on it because he's just a really cool looking astromech. I love the electric blue color, and it has that weathering on it as well, which is a pretty neat combination of paint apps. No, I don't care that it's from Rise of Skywalker. A droid is a droid, and this is a very cool one. And by the way, I noticed that he looks really good next to this Gaming Greats Shadow Stormtrooper from the Force Unleashed. Yeah, I know it's not the exact same shade of blue between the two figures, and I know that the droid is supposed to be a rebel, but in my head, I have this fantasy that these two are working together somehow. And furthermore, how cool would it look for this astromech next to that blue protocol droid from Mandalorian Season 3? Man, I wish Hasbro would make that one. And speaking of Shadow Troopers, I picked up this Shadow Stormtrooper from the Emperor Palpatine with Shadow Stormtroopers Force Unleashed pack from the Legacy Collection. Love Shadow Troopers, and this is one of the few left I didn't already have. Just really like the paint apps on this one with that, kind of gunmetal gray helmet and trim. So yeah, he looks pretty cool. Just didn't want to buy that whole set, so I was just happy to find this one loose for a good price. And finally, for the loose figure pickups, I grabbed this Power of the Force 2 Bobafett. I've got several versions of this guy mint on card. Never had him loose. I thought it'd be fun just to grab him loose. I think I paid like $6 for this. And supposedly this one came from the Shadows of the Empire comic 2-pack with him in IG-88, which, by the way, was the first comic book action figure set that Hasbro put out. Despite having these on card for years, this is the first time I've actually held this version of a Boba Fett figure in my hands. And he's every bit as awful as you could imagine. Just super jacked up and ridiculous looking, but it is rather fun and nostalgic to have this guy loose in my collection. Alright, let's move on to a couple of Black Series pickups. First off, I got this Chopper reissue. Just came in from Amazon. It is a beater on the box. I do like that artwork on the side, but I intended to open this, so I wasn't worried about ordering from Amazon. Here he is out of the box with all of his accessories, and he looks really good. I love the weathering on this guy, and it's Chopper. He's awesome. He's one of my favorite droids. I don't know why I never had this one. I missed out on him at retail, and he was pretty expensive in the aftermarket, so I guess that's why I never picked him up until now when they've reissued him. But he is awesome. I love how his little dome arms fold out, and they do articulate the elbows, and so that's just a really nice feature. And then he's got this little arm in here. It's a little tricky to get out, but it does articulate and come out. So that's cool that he has all of these arms that articulate, and you can snap that right back in, and that stays pretty secure. The articulation at his ankles, I guess you call it, is a little bit disappointing. So let's take a look at the accessories. You've got these blast off fire effects. It's pretty cool. You've got the fire effects for his little propulsion system there. And then you've got this extra leg. I'm not really sure what this extra leg is for. My only guess is that at some point in the show Rebels, Chopper's appearance changes to where both of his legs look the same rather than the left leg having that green paint at the top. But if you know for sure, let me know in the comments. All right, let's try out his fire effects. To do that, you just take out his wheel there and you can pop in his little rocket booster with the fire effect. And let's just go ahead and tuck in his little dome arms. And I guess it just sits on there like so. That's the only way I see this working. It looks pretty good. I hope I'm doing that right. If I'm not, let me know, but I think this is how it's supposed to go. And it looks pretty cool. I don't know if I'll display him like that or not. I'm not a huge fire effects person, but it is a neat feature, and I know some of you do like that stuff. So pretty cool. I like the accessories overall. This is a great purchase. I'm so glad that he got re-released because I did not want to pay those aftermarket prices. Next up, I won an auction at the Hakes auction for this graded carbonized Black Series Boba Fett. Now, hold on, I know some of you guys are out there saying, really, Brett, you bid on a carbonized figure? I get it, but I love Boba Fett, and this is an uncirculated CAS 90. If you're not sure what that means, it just means that the box was never taken out of the original shipper box from the factory until it was in the hands of the grader, and so it's just a nice example, and I just love this packaging, and I had this figure, but the packaging on mine was in pretty rough shape, so I've always wanted to get a new clean version, and I was able to get this for $60. That is less than it would cost to ship and pay for it to be graded by CAS. So at $60 to me, this was a no-brainer. All right, so let's switch gears over to the vintage collection, and like a lot of you, I got the 4-pack of the Jabba's Court Denizens or Jabba's Goons. And of course, it comes with this reissue of Re-Yees, which I just didn't care for because the original release was just too recent, in my opinion. They should have reissued a 1.0 figure or just done a repaint of Kithaba or something to give us Barada. Anyways, I digress. These three are awesome, though. I love Squidhead, VC286, one of the original 96. Then we got Tame Gren Garin, the guy that I think shot Luke Skywalker in the hand, VC287, and then of course you got Vilken Tazari, John Miko favorite, and these are just great. This VC288, I love the card backs, I love the figures. Overall, this is a great package, one of the highlights of the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary line that Hasbro has put out. All right, so in case you're wondering, I did not purchase the Boba Fett Throne Room. Awesome set, great looking set. I just didn't want to spend the money on it, and I didn't have the room because I knew I was going to back the HasLab and was going to have to pay for that and make room for that. So I decided to pass on that, although ironically I did order the Jabba the Hutt set on his dais, but I digress. I did have to get my hands on this Bib Fortuna because it's just such a novelty item to have a fat bib. And I just love the fact that they put this massive figure on a card when they're always talking about not having room to put larger figures on card backs. But he looks great. This is an awesome looking figure. A lot of fantastic detail. Love the cloth goods. It is VC276. Unfortunately, the same number as one of those recent ARC Troopers. I think it was Colt, maybe Havoc. I forget at the moment. But hate when that happens. But this is an awesome figure. Went ahead and grabbed it on eBay. I paid $70 for it, I believe, which, you know, not cheap, but I've seen it go for as high as $100. So I was feeling okay with that to get this awesome figure in my collection. Next up, I finally picked up Nom Anor from the Expanded Universe series, TVC 1.0. He was one of 2 Expanded Universe figures I still didn't have, and I was holding out on picking him up because he just doesn't feel like Star Wars to me. I know he's from the comics, and he is an awesome looking character and a great looking figure. I love the character debut sticker, by the way. Great details on this thing, but it just doesn't look like Star Wars to me. It looks more like something out of either Lord of the Rings or Masters of the Universe or both. Obviously, he's got the kind of Skeletor look kind of going on. But it is VC59. There's some pretty cool artwork from the comics on the back. And yeah, it's a cool figure. It's just interesting because it just doesn't seem like Star Wars. So he was way low on my priority list. But given that TVC 1.0 prices overall are fairly down these days, I figured I'd jump on it. I found a guy selling it with make an offer. He took my offer. It was a good deal. It's in great shape except for one or two little nicks. And so, you know, I'm glad to finally get it in my collection. Now, the only remaining expanded universe figure I still need is Bastilla Shan. Bastilla was another low priority figure for me because I just don't care for the head sculpt on that figure. I think she desperately needs an updated head sculpt similar to how Shea Vizsla got one recently on the reissue. And a brand new figure I picked up recently is the Sabine Ren, the deluxe set. By now, you guys have probably seen this fairly often. Maybe you've received yours already if you ordered her. And here she is out of the box. And she is a fantastic looking figure, guys. I love the paint apps on her armor. This looks great. Look at the details on her pauldron. They just did a really good job, which makes it even sadder about the unfortunate helmet size issue, which we'll get to in just a minute. But it does come with a fair amount of accessories, as it should at the price point. So it's got a satchel here with some pretty decent molding. You've got her little paint sprayer. She comes with an unlit version of the lightsaber, which can attach to her belt, by the way, which is always nice. And then, of course, the lit version of the lightsaber. Looking pretty cool. And then it's got this loft cat. I really like this. The head actually articulates a little bit, which I didn't expect, but it looks pretty good. And then you've got the unfortunate helmet. Looks fantastic. I have no issue with the way it looks, but we all know, we've seen the issues. It's just entirely too big, and just seeing this in person is just, it's so ridiculous. It's comical how big this thing is. I know it's been talked to death. You guys all know about that. I wanted to do something and grab the Boba Fett helmet because I saw some other YouTuber do this. I think it was on Toys Are the Way. I apologize for not remembering for sure. But they took the Boba Fett from the Mandalorian helmet, and just to see the size comparison, and I get the whole wall thickness excuse, but this Boba Fett helmet is slightly smaller. And if they had just made it to that size, that actually doesn't look too bad. It's still a little bit too big, but it doesn't look comical to me. And so I'm not really sure that they had to make that helmet that big. I realize the shape of this helmet is slightly different than Boba Fett's helmet, and maybe that made all the difference. But it just seems like they still could have made this thing smaller. But just a really unfortunate situation on this one because the figure itself is so good. All we can do is hope that down the road, Hasbro will make a correction with probably a swappable head. All right, finally, let's wrap up with some vintage goodness. And I got a couple of what I would call budget vintage Kenner mint on carded figures, starting with this AT-AT Commander on a 48 back C card. And I say it's a budget figure because it does have its issues. I mean, overall, it displays really nice. But when you take a closer look at it, you can see some creasing, some edge wear. The offer sticker's got a little rub on it. But the bubble is clear. The figure is in great shape. And it does look good overall. And I was able to win this at auction for, I think, $110 before the buyer's premium fee, if I'm not mistaken. And even with the slight condition issues, I don't think you can beat that deal. So I had to jump on it. It still displays great, and I absolutely love the free Revenge of the Jedi offer sticker on these 48 back Cs. Then the other Kenner MOC I got was 21B. You guys know I love me some 21B. It's one of my grails is to get a really nice condition 21B mint on card. So I got the next best thing for now. This one looks fantastic. The only issue is on the back, the original owner cut out the proof of purchase, the little circular thing down there. And so that just dramatically cuts the value of the card, but it still displays wonderful. This thing is in great shape. It has very minor issues. Of course, it's got the price tag on there, but at least it's off to the side. Got that cool free Star Wars action figure survival kit offer sticker. The bubble is in excellent condition. The only issue on this figure is the bottom left corner has a tiny ding. The rest of it is beautiful, so it displays great. This looks like an awesome example of 21B, were it not for that proof of purchase cutout on the back. So I picked this up for under $200, and that is fine. I will display this proudly until I can get a legit mint condition 21B sometime down the line. And finally, now this is the vintage comic art Boba Fett. Obviously, I've already had this for a while. I featured it in previous videos, but the image and the figure of this Boba Fett is taken from his first appearance from the comics, and it was from Star Wars number 42, and I was able to get that issue of the comic book. This is his first appearance in comics. I'm not a big comic book guy. I don't collect comics, but I wanted this one because of the significance and because it goes so well with that new TVC figure. And I got a great deal on this book. I got it from Chris W, from Rogue 5 Toys, also from the YouTube channel 5 Idiots Talking Toys. Great guy. He got his hands on an awesome collection and has been selling it over the past couple of weeks on their Facebook page. And so I picked this up, and I'm so excited to have this comic book, because what I plan to do eventually after I've taken a break from spending money is sending these in to CAS, have them grade the figure, but then mount both of these together in one custom acrylic case, and I think it will look awesome. Can't wait to do that. Alright, so that's going to do it for this episode of Brett on Fett. Let me know in the comments what are some of your favorite recent pickups. Thanks for checking out this video. Thank you to my subscribers. Don't forget you can also follow me on Instagram and on X. Take care, and we'll see you next time.